Welcome to Atlanta Community Profiles, a show about living in Atlanta. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and commercial and residential real estate experts. And now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. We have 5 publications, one for the metro area, one for North Fulton, published in partnership with the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, one for Gwinnett County in partnership with the Gwinnett Chamber, one for Cobb County in partnership with the Cobb Association of Realtors, and one for Inside 285. They are all distributed by First Multiple Listing Service, and you'll find them free of charge in most chambers of commerce and real estate brokerage firms. I'm also a commercial realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Georgia Properties, and my website is louwhelan.com. And by the way, my website for the magazines, and they are all available on that website, is atlantacommunityprofiles.com. It's along with additional information about our great city. And just from a macro standpoint for the residential real estate side of things, it looks like we're going to finish the year up about 3% in prices and about 2% above in sales. So looks like a pretty good year, and depends on how far out you define that in terms of the metro area, because the numbers change if the farther you get out or smaller within 285, whatever. But generally, by the 10-county area, those figures are realistic. And if you would like a more exact number, listen to my show last week, which is taped on my website, atlantacommunityprofiles.com, where I interviewed the guru of smart real estate data, Mitchell Palm. So my guest today is a familiar person on the show, good friend of mine, Mike Davis, who is the executive director of Connect South Fulton. Welcome back to the show, Mike. And you were on last December.
I was.
And
thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I know you're a busy guy, and I appreciate your coming on the show and helping people understand about the area that you represent. And basically, last December 2nd, Mike was on the show, and he talked a little bit about this South Fulton area in general. There's 7 or 8 cities down there. And what we're doing today is going to give you a little update, since you were exactly a year later. Tell you a little bit about what happened down there in this 2018. And we're going to, I see you have that you're hidden below the table. There's your crystal ball. So you're going to tell us a little bit about what that says for this year.
Exactly.
And I know you carry that crystal ball with you wherever you go, because as a PR guy, you need that.
Yeah, I look at what I am as an ambassador and for the cities. I mean, the biggest challenge we have in the times we have is really telling the story, and then letting the investment community know, whether it's in Metro Atlanta, the Southeast, across the U.S. or globally, what the unique opportunity we have being closest to the world's busiest airport in terms of investment opportunity. And so yeah, I keep the crystal ball with me, plus the cheat sheet and all the handy facts, so that when I meet those investors, no matter where I am, I can let them know, you got to come here because it's a green field with a great opportunity.
So just to refresh the memories of people, the Connect South Fulton, by definition, just right off your website, is a public-private partnership with 7 member cities of South Fulton County committed to creating a self-sustaining ecosystem that attracts capital investment, nurtures development, stimulates growth, and enhances quality of life for the 7 communities in the South Fulton area. So they are Chattahoochee Hills, College Park, East Point, Fairburn, Hayville, Palmetto, and Union City.
That is correct.
And you do a great job, Mike, in
Thank you.
trying to help people understand the dynamics because they're changing rapidly in your area. I know the real estate prices have gone up greatly in the last 5 years in the area that you represent. Residential, detached, I know, and also land, commercial land, and the values of multifamily housing have gone up quite a bit in the last 5 years in the area. And a lot of the reason is just because of what you just said, the proximity to the airport and to town. And some of them, as we talked about at lunch, are inside 285. So tell us a little bit about what happened last year, just from a macro standpoint, and then we'll segue to some trends that you see for next year.
Sure. Well, Connect South Fulton was born in November of 2017. So when I was here last, we're a month old. So we really, from 0 to 60, got out to meet all of the actors in the economic development ecosystem. Because unlike anything, at the end of the day, economic development is the ultimate team sport. And you have to have municipal stakeholders. You have to have great partners like the 3 CIDs that we have down there, the Aerotropolis Alliance. You have to have the Chambers of Commerce, actors like DCA and ARC, everyone working together to position yourself for growth. So, when I think about what Connect South Fulton is right now and boil it down, there's really 3 things, right? We advocate, we connect, and we develop. And the biggest thing about the advocating and the connecting is bringing together coalitions to work together, and this is really what regionalism is at its best. I mean, if you look at, I'll step back, make a brief comment, Metro Atlanta. We see the trend with the leadership under Senator Brandon Beach and others in terms of pushing us forward to the ATL from a transportation perspective, because there's some issues that are unique that are too small for certain municipalities to lift. It's a heavy lift, so it takes the region working together. We've got great leadership with Chris Tomlinson leading that organization. We've got all these issues which we have to do regionally. So the Metro Atlanta piece, great piece by a colleague that leads the Development Authority for Douglas County, Chris Pumphrey, about regionalism and why it's important. We have to get JDAs and counties and organizations thinking regionally, because at the end of the day, economic development is dropping a pebble in the pond, right? If it lands in College Park, the ripple will go to Hapeville, East Point, and other cities, and even to Atlanta. And the more we think collectively, and the more we realize we can go further together than we can alone, the better off we will be as a metro area. And that's kind of the philosophy by which the mayors of the cities that make up my board came up with Connect South Fulton, right? So we've got cities that range in population from 36,000 to 3,000 and whatever. Economic development is macro to micro, and you can get noticed more if you're larger and have those discussions about a larger area. So that's kind of what I do, is go out every day and champion the region, the area, with the unfair competitive advantages we have in terms of having all this undeveloped land, all this green space, and all the wonderful things happening by the airport and being in town, and then having access to the major highways and being ITP for those that like that, or OTP for those that don't. We have the best of both worlds, and we were close by. So it's been a great year. I'll stop there because I know we want to go in a different direction, but it's been a great year in terms of establishing the relationships with all of the different players in the economic development system, finding ways to collaborate, and at the end of the day, how do we push and advance, the progress of South Fulton County forward?
Let me ask you to share the information with the readers or the listeners that you showed me over there on your left from Georgia Power for 2017 in terms of the market size and some demos.
Yeah, the market size is a little over 200,000 people, and what you've got here is a great story in terms of a lower cost of doing business than the national average, a lower cost of living. You've got a diverse population, median age like 34 years old. So you've got all the different buckets, if you will, millennials, whatever the generation they call after that, as well as you've got baby boomers, retired. You've got that full diverse piece there. You've got highly educated people and a very diverse workforce living in really great areas that are thriving communities.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not very good at reading upside down, but it looks like you have a median household income of almost 50,000. Is that correct?
Correct. For the aggregate area, 50,000, which is good. And you've got so many exciting projects and things happening in each of the cities. We've talked often about, what's happening in College Park with the Airport City project, the large mixed-use project. But we've got other great things happening there. They have a great new ITP townhouse development in the 300K range.
Okay.
Do we need to break here?
Mike, hang on a second. I know you're excited and passionate about the area, but my producer said, hurry up. We got to go to the commercial break, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about some of the micro aspects. We talked about a macro economic perspective in the first part. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're sitting here with a familiar person on Community Profiles, Mike Davis, Executive Director of Connect South Fulton. And Mike has an executive MBA at Emory University Gonzguela Business School. And pretty smart guy. He's an expert on the area. And he's kind of representing the South Fulton area and doing an outstanding job of bringing everybody together with a unified approach and brand. And they have a lot to offer people. And one of the things that you do offer, and one of many things you do, is the fact that you have opportunity zones. And I was at a meeting recently where commercial realtors were talking about how valuable that is. If you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about how that benefits potential investors and builders and contractors and residents to the area.
It's going to be tremendous. I've attended the same workshops that DCA has. Some of the cities have opportunity zones, and in the conversations that I have with investors, that's one of the first questions they have, because it provides a great tax offering to those who have resources to invest in the communities that have been defined as needing investment. So, coming up very shortly in the new refresh of the website, we'll have a fresh map for all the specific parts of the South Fulton County region that are opportunity zones. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the top questions I've gotten towards the end of 2018, once there's been more clarity about what it means and what the rollout is. But it's going to be a great way to stimulate investment in areas where traditionally there hasn't been lots of great investment.
People may not understand what that means, opportunity zone. It's basically a tax break based on, which is for new hires, or tell us exactly how that works. In other words, you get a discount on your taxes?
No, for investors, yeah. If it's more of to stimulate investment, commercial investment. So that could be any wide range of commercial type investment. Mm-hmm. I mean, there have been different forms of this in the past, but generally it's taking areas that fit or fall below a certain demographic line, and then really finding ways to increase interest and participation with investment in those areas to stimulate growth and jobs and hopefully facilitate improvements in quality of life.
Okay. Well, and as such, commercial real estate agents that I've talked with are very excited about it, the value of that as a attraction to that area. So I'm sure that will be very helpful. And you have several of those in the area that you represent.
We do.
So, great. I'm best with that. Now, some people might be a little confused about some of the entities down there, such as the Aerotropolis Alliance, the South Fulton Parkway Alliance, the Aerotropolis CID. Help people to understand a little bit about these entities and how they collaborate for the well-being of the area.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing to say is much like a good orchestra. Everyone's working together in a collaborative way to push the ball forward for the area. So you mentioned the CIDs, the Community Improvement Districts. We have 3 community improvement districts in South Fulton County. We've got the Boulevard CID for primarily the Fulton Industrial Boulevard area.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the South Fulton CID, which is the oldest of those CIDs, down in South Fulton area, Fairburn, Union City, City of South Fulton area. And then we have the Aerotropolis Alliance CID, which is really which is really the airport west and south of the airport together, and that's about 15.46 square miles. And CIDs in general are really the transmissions for economic development, right? Because they're focusing their monies on transportation, beautification, and public safety. The CIDs are a big driver behind, the new large DOT Divergent Diamond Interchange project at I-285 and Camp Creek Parkway.
By the way, we might point out that that's a $10 million project.
Yes,
not
and
a small project.
No, it's not. And the latest estimates, they're going to try to get that done by Black Friday next year.
Okay.
So it'll be open for shopping season. But that's going to be the landmark one because the CID themselves are putting in money for amazing landscaping, there's architecture and structure. So when you pass that a year from now, you will know you've arrived. And they're also be syncing up all the intersections to be like that, so you know when you've gotten in their CID area. But so then we have the concept of the Aerotropolis, which everyone knows, the Aerotropolis Alliance. And if you look at the airport as a center, the Aerotropolis Alliance is the economic development engine for the Aerotropolis area. The Aerotropolis area is comprised of Fulton County, Clayton County, and Atlanta, and about a dozen cities in there. So if you take the airport and drive in any direction for 20 minutes, that's the Aerotropolis area. Much of, Connect South Fulton is part of that. And they have collectives which bring together all the economic development directors for an economic development collective. They've got a workforce collective because workforce is so important with all the workforce entities. They have an education collective. So they're a collector or convener, and they push economic development forward. And we work through the lens of the cities, with the cities from regionally to work and push, but we all work and singing from the same hymnal, singing from the same hymn, one tune to push the airport area and that region forward. Does that help kind of with some of the actors? And also we have the chambers. We've got the ATL Atlanta Airport Chamber, which is around the airport, which is a regional chamber. And then we have the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, which includes Atlanta and all of the cities in South Fulton County. So all of us work closely together. We're all in collectives or groups together. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we've got great regional collaboration and coordination with the one goal of moving the area forward. And then, of course, we have the airport, which is the largest single employer in the state of Georgia. It's 62,000 people, and they contribute about $64 billion to the Georgia economy. That is in itself is another economic entity that we all work with and are grateful to have as part of our unfair competitive advantage. So were there any other organizations to highlight, or that just?
Yeah, that's just give them overall. But one thing I would like to mention, when I was at the lunch recently that the Aerotropolis held,
the state of the Aerotropolis luncheon,
and was workforce development, which you mentioned too, and how important that is to the development of the area. And I know some of the schools like Clayton State University is working diligently on that as well. Tell us a little bit about the future of that, or the status at least.
Well, workforce development is crucial everywhere. I mean, you can see the decisions that they're made by Amazon and where they chose to be. NCR is now downtown, directly across from Georgia Tech, because it's about workforce. It's no longer about where the CEO operates. So through the Workforce Collective, also partnering with Atlanta Tech and Atlanta Metro, we're working very hard to really be sure that we're not only looking at workforce readiness of what people need now, but what do we need for where we're going in terms of the pipeline. Connect South Fulton is working very closely with Fulton County Schools. We've got a college and career academy, Fulton, which is a fantastic institution, new STEM school opening up. And we're working with them not only to be sure we're aligned, but also to tell the great story that's not always told about what the school systems have to offer. And there's a great story for there, and we're right in the middle of it, working to push workforce forward.
Stay tuned. Be right back after the break. Welcome back. My name is Lou Whelan. We're sitting here with my friend Mike Davis, who's the executive director of Connect South Fulton. And Mike has tell us, by the way, this is an interesting story. You sort of invented Connect South Fulton, didn't you? You came up with the idea. It was your idea to bring everybody together, and you kind of developed a cohesive front to represent the area too.
Well, I mean, I'm fortunate to be tasked to lead the organization and drive it. There were others, Mayor Vince Williams of Union City, I believe the Development Authority, the other mayors, as well as the collaborative firm, started working on this project back in 2015. But I mean, the overall champion of collaboration has been Mayor Vince Williams, because he went, got everyone on the bus. Everyone is working now together, which I think is fantastic, to have the various cities working together. So I was fortunate enough, having spent 25 plus years working as a business owner, a franchise owner, a nonprofit owner, a serial entrepreneur, to be tapped to birth the organization and to lead it. But no, the others came up with the idea before me. I'm just humbled that they had actually asked me to take on this task.
Yeah, well, we're proud of you too for doing so and the good job that you're doing, and we appreciate your time and talent devoted to it as well. You know, the area represents about 200,000 people, and with a median family income of about 50,000, and we really hope that you can continue to bring attention to this area, because it represents so much potential, not only for you, but just for the entire metro area. You have an entity here that is partly, I know this is a big word for my company, is inside the perimeter. As a realtor, commercial realtor, we zero in on that term a lot. But you have a represented entity that is part inside and part outside. And as such, the area is very diverse. You have an area that's close to transportation, to MARTA, for millennials, and you have an area that maybe people would like to live in as a suburban area. So
Correct.
How do you bring those two together in a unified paradigm?
Well, I think what we can say is we've got something for everybody. We've got for instance, Hapeville has a great corporate giant of Porsche. But, one of the great things about Hapeville, Hapeville is 2.5 square miles. They've built a wonderful quality of life and economic development strategy around arts and events. So they've partnered with Dashboard. That's it. Dashboard with gallery crawls and public art. So they've identified their identity. They're definitely ITP. They're right next to the airport. They're right next to downtown Atlanta. So there's a unique character and great personality there. It's a walkable community. But each community has its own identity. We've got some of the most used MARTA stations. So in College Park, before the first break, we talked about, obviously a great ITP development that's coming, transit-oriented development called Temple Square. So those are for the millennials and ITP residents. You're right next to MARTA. Townhouses just broke ground 2 weeks ago, 300,000 range. That's a play. But with Airport City and the new Hawks G League Arena, they'll be there, which is not only for the Hawks, it's a concert venue year-round. It's also additional exhibition space for the second largest convention center in the GICC. There'll be a pedestrian bridge. There'll be transportation to connect that. That really attracts everybody, right? You're close to the airport. You've got great transportation.
A lot of promoting of tourism, too.
Oh, the tourism. Yeah, the tourism is going to be huge. But then you look at East Point, and East Point, in a month or so, they'll they'll the ribbon cutting when they're near 32,000 plus square foot LEED certified new city hall and green campus. I know, speaking of housing development, they've got, in August, they opened up the Malayu Point LEED certified townhomes, not too far again. Transit-oriented ITP development. They have another transit-oriented development project, a $13 million 8-acre project called the Commons Project, which is right across from the East Point train station, which will be high-rise, mixed use. That's coming. They named the master developer a couple of months ago. And then MARTA just announced the connection of the East Point train station to Clayton County, so the rail from Clayton County will connect to East Point. So there's opportunities for new hotels and things like that in and around that. And that's just in 2 of the cities. And I know arts and entertainment's an important part of the fabric of East Point. So you can see between those 2 cities, you've got 2 different characters there. But each city is doing something special and unique. Fairburn is growing dramatically. They've got on the 74 corridor Sonoya Road to Fayette County, they've got new dining restaurants coming, luxury apartments, a new park and ride. And then in downtown, they'll have 2 restaurants coming in 19. They're doing a whole facelift on the downtown area via LCI study from the ARC. Union City's opening a new community center in January. There's growth there because they're obviously home for Atlanta Metro Studios as well as ASOS. And speaking of which, in the last 3 years, you've probably had about $91 million of project investment, creating almost 2,500 jobs with new companies coming to the South Fulton area in just a couple of cities. So the growth is there, and it's coming.
And as we talked at lunch, you talked to the chamber president, I guess, about the new movie studio coming to South Fulton, too. That's another thing that is going to bode well for the economic development.
Yeah, so we've got a third movie studio opening. RU Brothers, formerly with Tyler Perry, are opening a studio off of Greenbrier Parkway. Okay. So that's a new studio. So the movie business has been huge. Atlanta Metro Studios is booked up for the foreseeable future. So the movie is a big part of our economy as well.
Stay tuned. Be right back. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with Mike Davis, who's the executive director of an entity called Connect South Fulton, and he's doing a marvelous job of bringing everybody together to collaborate for the well-being of the area, and the area just represents so much potential for many reasons, including the fact that you have a lot of available land at a very reasonable price. And this is something that is prized in Atlanta because there's not much up in the metro area.
That's true.
So tell us a little bit about the future of that segment of the area.
Well, it's been often said that the South Fulton Parkway area, which is the 25-mile road that goes from Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, crosses over Douglas County to where it ends. If you look at that parkway, and then you go on either side of it 2 miles, that is what we call the Georgia Aerotropolis Corridor. We've got 45,000 acres of undeveloped land there. And if you look around the world in proximity to all the international airports in the world, we have the most property here in South Fulton County next to Hartsfield than any other international airport in the world. So that itself, the potential for that is about $100 to $150 billion economic development opportunity with corporate headquarters and all the different things like that. Mm-hmm. To give it some scale, because when you say those numbers, it's kind of hard. The biggest economic development project we have right now in this country is Hudson Yards up in New York. It's like $20 billion. So this is 5 times that, right? We think of Research Triangle in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. This space we're talking about is 6 times that in size, just to give that some context. So that's one piece of it, just to give it there. But the bigger thing is not only that, but we've got the largest amount of green space. I mean, we talk about the $2 billion investment that we all know. That's Serenbe, which is on 40,000 acres, right? And they're doing some great things there. They're well on their way of developing the Motto Hamlet number 3, which is about $250 million piece, where they've got the mixed use, they've got the retail, they've got the healthier, better alternative than strip malls. It's all happening down here in Chattahoochee Hills, So we've got all of that there. We've got green space, undeveloped land. You've got some great projects like finding the Flint within the Flint River that runs under the Hartsfield airports. We unearth that. We beautify it. We make green space. The leader of the nonprofit, Hannah Palmer, is going to be speaking at. We have a Connect Talk, or like a TED Talk series called Connect Talk. Mm-hmm. She'll be speaking on March 26th about finding the Flint. And then you also have something fantastic. Aero ATL, has their greenway plan, and their greenway plan in size and scope in and around the airport is bigger in more in square miles than what the Beltline is, and that really is going to support the ability to bike to school, to jobs, to walk downtown to restaurants and shops, or even go to the airport or watch trains. So that's something under the Aerotropolis piece. You can go to the website and find that. So the green space is a huge part of what we're doing here. It's got to be livable. It's got to be walkable. It's got to be health-oriented. Mm-hmm. So we don't have traditional sprawl and smog and sitting in the cars that way. So when I say we've got an unfair competitive advantage, it's really 3 things, right? It's all the available land, it's all the available green space, and it's that great proximity to the airport. And why is that important? Well, that's important if you are an international company and you want to land a headquarters here, or a regional company. Mm-hmm. You can basically be in the Georgia Aerotropolis corridor. There's developments where they're saving 50, 100, 200-acre blocks for corporate headquarters. You can fly in, fly out, mm-hmm. and be it from Europe or Asia. If you're in New York and you got a business, your CEO, you can fly in at 9:30 in the morning, mm-hmm. get back, pick your kids up from school by 3:30 because you've got that proximity to the airport, and we've got the land. So we're not doing brownfield or remediation, things like that. We've got green space that you can just develop at what you said was most important, better real estate cost and value, and you've got this great workforce to tap into. Because the airport, which we often forget, they have an indirect influence of 240,000 jobs besides the 62,000 they have. So we can draw available, trained workforce from the region to support any of the type of corporate or technology investment that we're looking to obtain down here. And we've got, headquarters at Chick-fil-A and about a dozen or so headquarters down here as well. And one of the things I'm passionate about, besides the workforce development piece, besides, working with MARTA to accelerate the transportation last mile and BRT and moving to that, is how do we get this corporate culture present headquarters to locate in this area where you're not spending 2 hours to get in and out of your corporate headquarters. And I think we've got a really great value proposition to anyone, be it if they're in Japan, Germany, or whatever. I mean, Porsche, at the Aerotropolis, state of the Aerotropolis, Joe Fultz, one of the top persons at Porsche, said the $100 million investment Porsche made in putting their North American headquarters right by the airport is the best investment that corporation's ever made. So there's your testimony, why it's great to put a corporate headquarters right next to the airport in South Fulton County.
Well, I know you're very familiar with this brochure that was published recently by the annual report for the Aerotropolis Atlanta.
The CIDs.
Our good friend Gerald McDowell talked a little bit about the jobs that would be created. I think it's like 18,000 jobs that are being created by the Workforce Development Program at this time, for next year. So it's pretty amazing.
It is. I mean, that's where the future lies. I mean, we have to have, available trained people, but we have to start training for where the jobs are going to be. Because we know in 5 to 10 years, the jobs that we have now, that composition is going to be very different because of technology and automation. So we have to be preparing our kids, and we've got some great institutions and great collectives working on that in the Aerotropolis area.
And I know they're looking at developing $18 million, I think, and he talked a lot about the fact that for every dollar that they invest, many times over are brought back in terms of economic value.
It's 3 or 4 to 1 for Aerotropolis CID spend.
So it's very money well spent.
Mhm.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan, sitting here with our friend Mike Davis, Executive Director for Connect South Fulton, and what a great job you're doing over there to bring everybody together and work together, collaborate to promote the area. And so I think in a couple of weeks, Shannon James will be on the show, and he's with the Aerotropolis, and we'll get a little bit more from him on that, and so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. But we want to ask you one quick thing, one thing I do want to mention before I go on to another subject, and that we did talk, Mike, you did talk about the Greenway, but you mentioned during the break the actual number of acres involved. I think that might be interesting to people.
Yeah, it's 48,000 acres, and it's involving in and around the airport and the cities that surround the airport in both Fulton and Clayton County. So it's another great testament to what the CIDs are driving in our area, because the ability to have green space, the places to walk, to bike, as a transportation alternative are really something we're finally collectively as a community seeing the value of. We're always thankful to the work that Ryan Gravel's done with the Beltline. This is going to connect to that and extend this in and around the Aerotropolis area. So we're thrilled and excited. Their executive summary document has just been completed. It's available on the Aero ATL website.
Now, you have some programs coming up that people might like to know about. If you wouldn't mind just telling people about some of the programs that you offer and how they might register.
Great. Well, first off, thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. One of the things I saw as important is to have a thought leadership forum where we can bring together municipal, business, and community leaders to start conversations, hopefully to bring about change. We've termed that Connect Talk. We had several last year, one on 5G with AT&T, one on the Child Wellbeing Index with United Way of Greater Atlanta. We also had one on Smart Cities. Starting in January, we've got the first few booked. January 29th, Mayor Tom Reed from Chattahoochee Hills is going to talk about the Georgia Aerotropolis corridor and that tremendous investment opportunity. In February, on February 28th, we'll have Steve Nygren, the visionary and president of Serenbe, to talk about Serenbe and agricultural urbanism. And then on February 26th, we'll have Hannah Palmer with Finding the Flint. And Finding the Flint's another green-oriented project to unearth and beautify and leverage the river that runs under Hartsfield. We're looking forward to having Shannon come on, Shannon James Sr., president of Aerotropolis Alliance, about Aerotropolis. But we're trying to have free topics. We'll have these up via Eventbrite. We've had the first three will be at the Windmill Arts Center in East Point, to have the conversation, the dialogue, to really start promoting ideas to move South Fulton County forward. So we actually video these, and we push these out via video. One last thing, we mention investors a lot whenever I come on the show, and I want to highlight if there's any program the investors attend to learn about what's happening for opportunities now and in the future in the South Metro area, they have to come to the South Metro Development Outlook Conference. That is February 21st from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the GICC. This is, I believe, the 17th year that the collaborative firms have that. You have to come to this event. Everything that's happening in the southern metro counties is there from a development, municipal, business perspective. Deals are made, investments are made, but more importantly, you'll see my favorite quote when I talk to people about investing in South Fulton County is this. When they asked Wayne Gretzky why did he score so many goals, he said it's really simple. I skated to where the puck is going to be. And those of us who are seasoned investors know that if you get to where the puck is going to be is where you make the largest returns. We'll see you at the SMDO on February 21st.
And your website again?
My website is connectsouthfultonga.org, or you can just type csfga.org.
If you missed any of the show, it's on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. And thank you again, Mike, for your service to the community. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.